I first wanted to recognize that we respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care and teachings about our earth. May we honor these teachings. Hi kids, and welcome to week 2 of our St. James virtual summer camp. This week our theme is STEM, so that's science, technology, engineering, and math. Usually it's STEAM, and it has arts in it, but because we have an arts week coming up, we're just going to do STEM for this week. As you may remember from last week, we do have some live Zoom meetings this week. So our Zoom is usually on Wednesdays, but due to extenuating circumstances and just changes in our schedules, our Zoom meeting will be on Friday this week. I'll be sending out an email with the links, the password, and all that information today, Monday, either before or after our video is posted. And if you'd like to be added to our Zoom calls, just email us at camp@stjames@gmail.com and we will be sure to add you to that emailing list. Additionally, on our Facebook, we're going to be posting the link to our Camp in a Box, which is a kit on Google Docs, which has different coloring sheets, different brain activities, a book list for this week, along with some instructions on what we're going to be doing this week, some supplies, etc., all that good stuff that you could need before watching this video, and just something to keep you busy at home. I'll put the link to that Google Docs in the description. It is also on our Facebook page, so go check us out. Today's video we'll be doing 2 baking, cooking things related to science. So our first one is a color changing lemonade, which is very cool and also very delicious. And second, we're going to be making homemade bread because yeast is cool and sciencey, and I'll teach you the science about yeast then too. This week is going to follow a similar schedule to last week, so that's 2 videos a day, Monday, Tuesday, and then this week's Wednesday, Thursday, and then our live Zoom meetings are on Friday. We will go back to having them on Wednesday next week, but for now, it'll be on this Friday. There'll be one from 11 to noon and one from 1 to 2, so feel free to join both, either, none, whatever you feel like. Again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to email us at camp@stjames, and we'll be more than happy to get back to you as soon as possible. If you recreate any of our creations or science experiments or whatever, feel free to post it on Facebook or send us an email. We'd love to see what you're doing. So without further ado, let's get on to the video. So for our first science-themed baking activity, we're going to be making color-changing lemonade. So the main ingredient here is some form of acidic fruit, so in this case lemons or limes, either one works, and butterfly pea flowers. I got this on Amazon, but I'm pretty sure you can buy it at Sobeys as a tea. You basically just need to brew a tea using these special flowers. Now, these flowers are good. They're antioxidants, they're for healing, and they're known for being good for health reasons. When they come in the package, they come as a dried up flower. In this case, the one that I bought, it's just a dried up flower, but you can also buy it as a tea bag and steep the tea that way. I've put all of my flowers into this big jug, which is part of my coffee press, so that I can get rid of the flowers later. And I'm going to pour some boiling water over top of them to steep the tea. Now, if you're going to use a stove, please make sure you're asking an adult for help. You don't want to get burned with the hot water. I may have done that, and it hurt a lot. Notice as soon as the water hits the flowers, it creates this beautiful blue color. That blue color will only get deeper and turn almost purple the longer you leave the flowers in the water, as you can see here. I added quite a bit because I was making a very big jug, and I wanted to show you how drastic the change is. If you were making this at home, I would use less. Here it seems almost black, but I promise it is just a very deep blue. I'm going to try to show it here on the spoon so you can see the color that I'm referring to. While that's steeping, you're going to cut up all of the lemons you're going to need for your lemonade. So I cut up 4 lemons, and you'll see I start to cut them up here, and then I juice them into one of my beakers. The acid is going to react with the pea flour, and it's going to change colors, and that's the point of this experiment. Many, many, many lemons later, you're ready to mix in all of our ingredients. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to want to strain out the liquid from the flowers so that you don't have any soggy, wet flowers in your lemonade. Because this is a coffee press, I'm able to just push all the tea leaves down to the bottom. I'm pouring it into this container so it's easier for me to pour into the other jug and to make sure that I didn't catch any of the flowers. It looks like a black liquid, but I promise that it's just a very deep purple. And in real life it's a dark blue, although it shows up purple on screen here. So to my big jug, I'm going to add in my tea. And then because this tea is quite bitter, you can add in sugar, or you can add in honey or agave or what other sweetener you want. I use a little bit of sugar and a little bit of honey. Once those two things have been added to your tea, give it a nice good stir to make sure it's all dissolved. Add sweetener to taste. If you like a bitter tea, then add less. If you don't like a bitter tea, then add more. Next, I'm adding club soda because I wanted my lemonade to be a sparkling lemonade. This is just mineral water, carbonated water. You don't have to add this, it's totally optional. If you don't want to add carbonated water, I'd add just regular water. Next, I added a bunch of ice because we want to cool down the tea to make it a cold drink. Last but not least, we're going to add our lemon. This is where the color is going to change, so note the purple hue here. And as we pour in the acid of the lemon, the drink is going to change to this vibrant pink color. My camera, for whatever reason, didn't catch it very well inside, so there's going to be a clip coming up next that shows the full change in the sunlight. Then you can see the true change. Blue tea, plus the acid, boom, pink, and you're left with this really beautiful lemonade. This is a great drink for parties because people can add in the lemon if they want, and it's really interesting and really fun, and I think it's really cool. My brothers think it's really cool too. So up next, we're going to be making some homemade bread because yeast is also part of our science, which I will explain later.
There will come a soldier who carries a mighty sword. He will tear your city down. Olay, olay, oh Lord. Olay, 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 oh Lord. He will tear your city down. Olay, olay, oh Lord. And there will come a poet whose weapon is a sword. He will slay you with his tongue. Olay, olay, oh Lord. Olay, 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 oh Lord. He will slay you with his tongue. Olay, olay, oh Lord. And there will come a ruler whose brow is laden thorn, smeared with oil like David's boy. Olay, olay, oh Lord. Olay, 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 oh Lord. Smeared with oil like David's boy. Olay, olay, oh Lord. Olay, 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 oh Lord. He will tear your city down. Olay, olay. Oh.
This is Science with Sprinkles. So today we're going to be talking about yeast and why yeast does what it does and why does it make our bread rise. So, dry active yeast is a living single-cell organism that is activated with sugar and warm water, like a bunch of tiny little monsters living in the packets. So, when you have a package of yeast, the monsters are asleep, and you wake them up by adding hot water. When the water is too cold, they'll die, and the same goes if it's too hot. That's why you need it within a certain temperature range. Once the little monsters are awake, they start to gobble up the sugar, and when they do that, they start to expel CO2, carbon dioxide, and this is what makes the bread so light and fluffy and creates all those bubbles. This is a process called fermentation. While we were mixing the ingredients, did you notice how all the liquid suddenly transformed into this beautiful thick dough? This is a chemical reaction when water hits flour. The proteins in the flour start to form gluten. If you put it under a microscope, it would look like loosely woven fibers. When you knead the dough, the fiber weaves tighter and tighter together, which makes it ready for the oven. We knead the dough by twisting, pushing, pulling, and working the dough to work the gluten. But why is it important that the gluten is strong? Do you remember the CO2 the little monsters produced? Well, the gluten traps the CO2, which makes the bread rise and be so light and fluffy. This is why gluten-free bread is often quite hard and kind of resembles cardboard, because there isn't that gluten to trap the CO2 and create light, fluffy bread. And that's the science behind yeast.